roba do campo,
é o nó da madeira,
canga,
é o Matita Pereira,
é madeira de vento,
da ribanceira,
é um mistério profundo,
é o queira ou não queira,
é o vento ventando, é o fim da ladeira, é a viga, é o vão, festa da comida,
é a chuva chovendo, é conversa.
Elis or Elis, I don't know. Regina was a very popular Brazilian singer of Brazilian pop and jazz. Her career spanned from 1961 to 1982, when she shocked Brazil by dying from a cardiac arrest caused by substance abuse. She had a steady output of albums over her career, 6 of which were simply called Elis, and I have no idea how people didn't get confused by that. Antonio Carlos Jobim was a Brazilian composer, pianist, guitarist, songwriter, arranger, and singer. He is credited with having internationalized bossa nova, and he blended it with jazz. He was musically active from 1945, but his first studio album came out in 1963, and in 1994, he died. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is the first time that I've listened to this album. I have come across Jobim before. I haven't come across Elis before. And apparently this album was a 10-year anniversary present to Elis from her recording label. She'd expressed a desire to record with Jobim, but Tom, as he's called on this album. Wikipedia and Acclaimed Music both describe this album as being bossa nova, and I think that's there is bossa nova here, but I don't think that's the full picture at all. So let's pick out the first track first of all. So as immediately came on, the first track is called, I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong, Aguas de Marco, or something like that, which means Waters of March. And I recognise it from somewhere. I've definitely not heard this album before. I'm pretty sure I haven't heard this recording of it before, but I have heard it elsewhere. And maybe this isn't a surprise, because when I went to look it up, I found out it has been voted as the best Brazilian song ever by a group of critics and musicians in Brazil, which makes me wonder, obviously they've pipped it over Girl from Ipanema, which is probably the best known bossa nova song ever. It also, interestingly, on this recording has the most out-of-tune piano that I think I've ever heard anywhere. Is even more out of tune than the piano that's owned by my mother and father-in-law, which is quite out of tune. Going back to this thing about whether it's bossa nova or not, well, there is bossa nova, and there's quite a range here from quite light bossa nova. I like the kind of light Latin feel to stuff like this, and it's definitely got that, to more kind of almost orchestral stuff. And there's definitely bits with strings, but other orchestral instruments in as well. Sometimes it feels a bit like 1940s film music, the kind of slower songs from that. Sometimes with bits of Latin backing involved as well. And I kind of feel like it's the kind of crooner song tradition, like the French tradition. I think chanteurs, so Edith Piaf is particularly known for this. At times it's quite light, as I said, but also at times it's quite sad and quite atmospheric. So ironically, there's a track called Triste, which I assume is similar. No, actually, I don't assume. I looked it up. It means sad. It's similar to the French word triste, which means sad. Ironically, that track isn't that sad. But the next track, Corcovada, probably pronouncing it wrong, is pretty sad. And the track after that is also pretty sad. And they're both kind of getting into this orchestral string sounds. Elis has got a nice voice. She handles the different moods here well, I think. So there's in my background, in terms of this kind of music and kind of this light Latin, almost jazz feel to stuff, I kind of associate it with cheesy lift music and test card transmission music. And if you're not British, you probably won't understand what I mean when I say CFAX music, which generally was thought of as being kind of just a noise that went on and had no soul. And that's definitely not the case here. This has got soul. Also, the rhythm, particularly bossa nova, reminds me of early keyboards with built-in rhythms that always have a bossa nova in there. And it felt like this kind of slightly artificial thing. Whereas in this, it doesn't. And I'm definitely kind of, over the years become more open to some of the things that I would have thought of as being easy listening when I was in my teens, and I've embraced better as I've got older. Maybe that's the point. The singing obviously is in I presume Portuguese all the way through. Certainly some of it is, and I didn't spot any in English that I could understand. I kind of picking up the occasional word. Interestingly, the word that jumps out at me in Portuguese is corazon, which I know means heart. And I always seem to spot it when it's in these Brazilian songs. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying getting into some of this Brazilian music, and it seems there's been quite a bit on this list. So I'm enjoying exploring these things. It's one of the points of me doing these reviews is to get some exposure to some things I wouldn't have kind of picked out for myself. So that's good. So I liked it. I'd like to know what you think. So please do, don't be shy. Talk to me through the comments. That's it from me for now.
Cantinho, violão, esse amor, uma canção pra fazer feliz a quem se ama.